sales psychologists have to say about selling to the Negro?
The secret of selling to the Negro is expressed in one word. That word is recognition. Now, there's nothing unusual about that. People want to be recognized. They need recognition. That's basic in all of us. But perhaps because he's had so little of it, the Negro needs even more. He needs to feel important and appreciated. This need is a very real and important. It shows up even in many of the Negro's shopping habits. Anyone who sells or wants to sell to the Negro customer should know about some of these habits. 3 habits in particular play a big part in every sales transaction. To begin with, most Negroes buy by brand. They ask for products by name. They're quick to turn down off-brands. Buying by brand, that's the first important Negro buying habit. Now for the second. The Negro buys good quality merchandise. Symbols of quality and prestige are very important to the Negro customer. This woman, for example, is buying fine crystalware, but she is also buying the admiration and approval of her friends and relatives. Listen to her thoughts.
My, isn't it beautiful? I can hardly wait to show it to Sally and Joe.
It's a well-known fact that many Negro customers are influenced by the opinions of others. What their friends may think of a certain item often decides whether or not the sale is made. So remember, the Negro buys quality merchandise. That's the second important point. And here's the third thing to remember when selling to a Negro customer. When he specifically asks for one thing, don't try to sell him something else. Don't try to switch him at the point of sale. If you do.
Hey guys, so I ran across a video that Dr. Boyce Watkins did, and I found some of the video that Dr. Boyce Watkins featured on his channel talking about Black American consumership, and the video is from the 1950s. In this 1950s video, it is highlighted and pointed out the strategy on selling to Negro customers, Black customers, and it was I found it to be very interesting watching this video, because they understand our psychology a lot better than we seem to really, grasp. Like they study us. They have studied us for hundreds of years. They've studied us under the worst conditions possible. They studied us under, slavery. They studied us under Reconstruction. They studied us under the Jim Crow. They studied us and continue to study us under the war on drugs, and so on and so forth. The way things are packaged and marketed to Black people, I think it speaks volumes to our psychology and how we behave in this country. I mean, think about it. They understand our need to consume and how to psychologically reel us in so that we can be better consumers. They understand that to a level that is even though they're using it to negative ends, you have to appreciate the time and effort that they put into this. Not only do they study us and study our psychology so that they can copy us and learn from us, they do it so that they can sell to us as well. Remember, Black people spend over $1 trillion a year in the United States, most of which is on consumerism. In fact, that's how much disposable income. This is only dealing with consumerism, not necessities. So I just want you guys to really keep that in mind.
He needs to feel important and appreciated. This need is a very real and important. It shows up even in many of the Negro's shopping habits. Sells or wants to sell to the Negro customer should know about some of these habits. 3 habits in particular play a big part in every sales transaction.
instance, take into account how black people worship celebrity. We worship celebrities, black people as a whole. I'm not saying that I myself worship celebrities at this point in my life, but I had at one time did have this worship and admiration of celebrity. You know, things occur in your life, you know, where whether you meet celebrities or you see them for who they really are, or you have the opportunity to see them as human, you kind of, what's the saying, never meet your heroes, so to speak. We worship celebrities, black people, because we look at celebrities as being the ultimate in social status, and black people clamor for social status and social acceptance because of the social status we've been granted in America. Like the gentleman in this video says, the Negro wants to be noticed, wants to be recognized. You know, as a result of going so many years, hundreds of years without being noticed or recognized. You know, the first black people that were I guess held in high regard or esteem for the most part by the Negro community at large were celebrities. You know, I mean, and this was during the time when celebrities weren't allowed to be politicians. You know, even though in Reconstruction there were plenty of black politicians, they were, you know, once the Ku Klux Klan, you know, came back in full effect, and once they pretty much took over the Democratic Party, you know, and got their foothold into politics, and pretty much booted all the black people out of politics, or for the most part, the majority of black people out of politics. The only black people that got any recognition were celebrities. So we started to equate, you know, making it, so to speak, with celebrity. So black people clamor for celebrity status, or they clamor for things that will make them appear as though they are celebrities. And they understand this. Black people buy things to impress other people. I don't agree with everything about Will Smith or his life, all those different things, but he did say something that I thought was very true. Black people spend money they don't have to impress people they don't like. And we do. We buy things to impress. When black people buy Jordans, it's to impress their peers. It's to impress girls. Speaking on the black male, you know, when a black man buys his clothes and gets sharp and fresh, you know, and real dapper and all that, that's to impress the outside world. It's not necessarily to help his own self-esteem. When women dress in provocative, scantily clad ways, or dressing in ways that accentuates their physicality and highlights their femininity, they're not just doing that just because they feel good about themselves. You understand? They're doing that because they want to impress the world around them, whether it's other women, other men, whatever. We do things to impress other people. We buy things and listen to celebrities more than any other race of people. That is something that we have to take into consideration. Now remember, this information came from the 1950s, I believe 1954. So this wasn't their first attempt at studying us to understand our psychology, our psyches at all. This was just a very old proof that we are constantly being monitored and studied. You know, another part of our consumption as consumers is television. You know, the Nielsen studies, for instance, shows that black people watch more television than any other race of people in a 24-hour period. We watch way more TV than everybody else. And if you're watching more TV than everybody else, you're not reading as much as everybody else. That's one thing. But also to add to that we watch more TV than every other race of people on the planet. Not only do they play on our need for consumption, you know, remember, a lot of these name brands, although they are outwardly seeming to be marketed to white people, they're really marketing it to you because of our need to fit in. Because if they put a white image on a product, they know that we want to emulate and be accepted by white people. So if we buy the things that we think they do, wear, buy, so on and so forth, we want to have those things too. And let's not forget that also when you're watching TV, the TV is accessing your subconscious. You understand? It's emitting beta waves that accesses your unconscious memory. And when you're watching TV, or rather, your brain is emitting beta waves when you're watching television, because your subconscious is opened up and primed for suggestion. You know, we emit the same brain waves when watching TV as a person does when they're sleeping. You know, your subconscious is easily accessed when it's emitting those sorts of waves and frequencies. And we watch more TV than ever. Just take a moment to take that into consideration. This need for recognition affects black people in different ways. Wanting to be noticed, wanting to be recognized, wanting to have the approval of a certain group of people or a certain individual, like the black coon, for instance. They do in a different way what majority black people do, you know, as a whole, which is doing things to be noticed and recognized. The black coon is doing things and buying into what has been sold to them as what success is, you know. So they're trying to impress the white man, which is why they're coons in the first place, which is why they're shucking and jiving and dancing. This is the only way they feel as though they can be rewarded in society with a pat on the head and a paycheck in his back pocket, is to clamor for this recognition. Just like the black consumer as a whole, buying a Benz, you know what I'm saying, living in the projects, but you drive a $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 car, you know what I'm saying, but you live in the hood. You know, you want to be recognized, you want attention, you want people to notice you. This is what coons do. This is how, you know, consumerism and black coons, the whole idea of the two things are kind of intertwined, because they have been sold on this idea of what America is and what America should be, or what they should be, or what America wants, or what society wants from them. You understand? Be a good little Negro. Sit in the corner quietly and wait until someone calls on you. You know what I'm saying? And if you perform well enough to our expectations, then we'll give you a fucking milk bone and pat you on the head. They'll still treat you like you're an animal, but if you sit up, shake hands, roll over, bark, beg, do all that shit they want you to do, they'll give you a treat. They'll reward you. Mind you, they have the majority of the wealth, so they don't mind breaking you off a tiny ass micro percentage of some sort of economic stimulus to keep you on their side, to keep you buying into what they're trying to sell you, or buying into the image that they want you to portray in order to feel like you quote unquote made it. And another thing about watching too much TV as well, it damages your prefrontal cortex also. It messes up your ability it messes with your imagination. It messes with the way you process thoughts and ideas. So watching a lot of TV is not good for you at all. So not only is it actually doing damage to you, because when you're watching television, you're shutting off your brain and allowing other information in. You're not processing any data. You're just letting it all in. You're taking in all of that imagery, all of that subliminal messaging. You understand? So it is very imperative that black people really start to think about how much television they're consuming. How much media are we consuming? Are we getting out into the real world and doing real world activities? You know, picking up books and reading them and engaging the mind. Reading is exercise, is weightlifting for your brain. You know, it's not just all about being physically fit, although that is very important. But you also need to make sure that your brain is healthy as well. And they understand these things. And they use these things to manipulate us and market to us to keep us as consumers. Remember, we watch more TV than any other race of people on the planet. That there has to be a problem with that. In your mind, there has to be a problem today. And the question is, what are we going to do to solve this problem?
So remember, the Negro buys quality merchandise. That's the second important point. And here's the third thing to remember when selling to a Negro customer. When he specifically asks for one thing, don't try to sell him something else. Don't try to switch him at the point of sale. If you do, he'll probably react something like this.
Doesn't he think I've got the money to pay for it?
The Negro resents being offered a substitute. He wants to be sold on quality, not price. The Negro buys by brand, he buys quality, and he doesn't like to be switched at point of sale. These are the keys to selling the Negro customer.
According to leading researchers, in proportion to population and income, Negroes buy more quality products than any other comparable United States group.
Now again, this was done in 1954, and we were America's top consumers of name brand goods back in 1954. This was during the Jim Crow era. You couldn't even drink out of the same water fountain as white people, use the same public restroom, walk on the same side of the street, be in a certain part of town after a certain hour. You could not be serviced at a restaurant in the main dining area of the restaurant. You had to go to the back of the restaurant to pick up your orders, and they were only for carry out. You understand? Jim Crow was a very rough time, very rough period for African Americans. And even then, even with all of the segregation and all the other racial biases and prejudices that we were facing, we were still buying more consumer goods than everybody else. This is one of the reasons why I believe that white America, white supremacy has no respect for us. Because no matter how many times they kick us in the proverbial nuts, we never put on a cup. We never protect ourselves. We're never prepared for the blow when it comes. Because every time they kick us in the nuts, we instantly forgive them. Oh, it's okay, we forgive you. I may lose my ability to have kids, but it's okay, it's all right. Here, just so you can see that I have good faith and trust in you, here, I won't wear a cup again. Boom! They kick you in the nuts again, and you turn right around and forgive them every time. This is why they do not have respect for us. Because even though they outwardly hate us, we still want to be accepted by them. We still buy goods to impress them, ourselves, and each other. You understand? They will never respect us as long as we continue. They don't. Look, think about it. Walmart, for instance. There was just a story that came out maybe earlier this week or so, or last week. At least that's as early as I saw it, was possibly last week, about some third-party sales company that was actually run by a black woman, but someone else had went on to, not anybody that represented this black woman's hair care products, but someone else who claimed that they were a representative of the company posted on Walmart's site a hair product, and they called it Nigger Brown. Right? Now, take into account that there are checks and balances that should go in different levels of security and access that should go into being able to post something on a website, such as what Walmart has as being some multinational conglomerate, which they are. And you would think that there's a screening process for any material that you would put on their website. So the fact that they allowed that to slip past them, that for them to have an oversight as such, is completely it's incomprehensible, and it's also unacceptable. So all they're gonna do is do what white people do all the time, is apologize black people won't protect their nuts. They'll leave their legs wide open without a cup so they can get blasted again. This is exactly the same type of situation. Almost the exact same scenario. You understand? All they've done was issued an apology. How could something like that happen with a company as large as Walmart? How? Somebody was laughing their sick fucking ass off doing that and watching it go up on the website. And here's my thing. Black people didn't immediately boycott Walmart. What's going on, Walmart? What's happening with this? These are the type of questions they were asking. I don't understand this. All you need to understand is that if they would allow something like that on your website, you immediately boycott their asses. Immediately boycott them. Because this isn't the first instance of racism experienced by Walmart or that black people have experienced coming from the Walmart end. So what do? Do you wear your cup and protect yourself? You may still get hurt, but the blow won't be as devastating. Or do you not wear the cup and risk losing your testicles altogether? You know, you can bounce back from pain. A certain amount of pain builds character. But if you're losing functions, if it is debilitating you, is it really worth taking that blow? Is it really worth forgiving? Why would you keep forgiving a system that has no respect for you? Overtly has no respect for you whatsoever. I cannot understand that level of thinking. But this is what happens to black people in this country. This is exactly what happens. You have to break free from all of this nonsense. Now this part, and I'm going to end this video with this. I'm going to impart you guys with this here. To all of my black African people all across the world, not just in America, do not believe, especially those who are not the descendants of the Africans that were brought into the Western Hemisphere during the Middle Passage, and even after the Middle Passage, to be sold into slavery or forced into slavery. Those of you whose ancestors did not have that experience, don't get it twisted. You guys are not better than us. You're not better than us. Not having your ancestors experience that unique set of circumstances doesn't make you better than the rest of us. You guys need to realize that white supremacy doesn't discriminate between black people. White supremacy turns us in on each other as per the Willie Lynch letters. That's what it does. They want you to believe that you are superior to us because you are not the descendant of slaves. We aren't the descendants of slaves either. Let's correct that right now. We are not descendants from slaves or descendants of slavery. We just so happen that in a portion of our ancestry, our people were forced into slaves. We are the descendants of the same African rulers, kings, and creators of civilization that you all are. Please believe that. Remember that and understand that. It just so happened that during a fraction of time, our people were sold into chattel slavery, and we just so happened to come from that lineage. But we're descended from the same Africans, the same people who created ancient civilization that is the wealthiest continent on the planet. We are descendants of that same Africa, El Capulan, Kush, wherever you want to call it. We are also descendants of that place. That is also our homeland. Do not think you are better than us, because white supremacy will play on this false sense of superiority, superiority that you feel as though you have over us, and use it to manipulate you and control you to help them destroy us. And then as soon as you have completed the mission or task that they have handed you, they will then destroy you. Look at what they're doing with Africa right now. They are ravaging Africa right now. And it's not just white supremacy doing, well, it is white supremacy as a whole doing it, but it is a multitude of other races. Asians, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Koreans, Swiss, the The Dutch, they've always been in Africa for hundreds of years now. But I mean, it just goes on and on. The Italians, the Portuguese, everybody is trying to get a piece of Africa because they understand the value of the land mass of Africa. They understand it, and they are using the same white supremacy tactics to control Africa and take it away from you that they have used to control us and keep us under their thumb, so to speak. While you're so busy believing that you're better than us, they are taking over and controlling our homeland. Do not forget that white supremacy targets black people. We are the natural enemies of white supremacy. To all of my Africans spread across the world, we are all the targets of white supremacy, and we all experience it on a daily basis, no matter how consciously aware of it you are or are not. We all still experience white supremacy. Keep that in mind before you turn your nose up to another black person on this planet and think that you have something over them. Please keep that in mind. Because the same thing happened to the Jews during the Holocaust. There were Jewish people who thought they were better than the ones that were getting snatched up by to the Nazis until it came their turns to get snatched up, and they had nobody left to fight for their asses. And what the Jewish people learned from that experience was to not ever let that happen to their people again. Look at the systems that they have created and built and put in place to protect their people, all of their people, from that point forward. Why haven't we learned from that? Or we tried, but every time we get derailed a little bit, we get discouraged, more and more discouraged every time, and we come back with a little bit less luster each time. Hopefully, with these new generations coming up, they can learn from our previous mistakes and not continue to take a foot in the ass. You know, we don't want to be used to taking a foot in the ass. We don't want to be used to that. But remember, African people, please remember this. White supremacy has targeted all of us. Do not believe that you are superior because a white person allows you to believe that. Because white supremacy, I should say, allows you to believe that. You are not superior. You understand? The ancestors of yours that probably were aware of what was going on stood by and watched, while another portion of your lineage was snatched away from its homeland. And then you turn around and blame us for it because of a false sense of superiority, a false sense of, or a false notion of our inferiority. That's stupid. That's dumb to allow yourself to believe something so fucking retarded. White supremacy affects us all. Don't ever forget that.